Hello, my name is Roberus the Hunter, and this is Old Yharnam, my home for 6 long years. This is my bridge, which I like to walk across in the mornings, and then if I'm feeling particularly adventurous, I might walk back across it. This is my favourite burning monster on a cross. I mean, I've got lots of them, but this one's my favourite. I like to sit here and think about that time I killed Father Gascoigne on my 8th attempt, back in my more adventurous days. Oh goodness, you wouldn't catch me doing things like that now. You know, I've settled down. Fighting things is a young hunter's game. And over here... Oh! Morning, Mr. Machine Gun Man. How are you today? Oh, we don't go down there. We don't go down there. So yeah, this is me. This is my home. And I'm very happy here. Very happy indeed. Yeah, if you couldn't already tell, I was not happy being stuck at the beginning of Old Yharnam, an inconsequential area a few hours into Bloodborne that would, over the course of 6 long years, coalesce into the kind of mental block that to me became so impenetrable as to feel like an actual physical concrete wall. Intangible psychic barriers only exist to be broken down, however, so let's get to it. My name is Rob, and this is the story of how I learned to stop worrying and love Bloodborne. To get to the part where I stopped worrying, however, we need to establish why I started worrying in the first place. Now, as regular viewers may know, I've always struggled with games like Bloodborne and Dark Souls, but it's not the kind of struggle most people describe, you know, the good struggle, if you like, the dying and learning and persevering and feeling amazing when you win struggle that underpins the undeniable appeal of the wider massacre genre. If I had a pound for every time someone has told me, it's fine, you're supposed to fail, that way when you succeed it feels incredible, I'd have about £27 by now. You like a challenge and you feel great once you've surmounted it. I get that, but at the same time, I don't get that. Something I discovered after fighting Bloodborne's notoriously difficult early game boss, Father Gascoigne. I psyched myself up for it, ready to take all the "you dieds" on the chin, ready to learn, to persevere, to experience that euphoric emotional release upon victory. And so I beat Father Gascoigne, and the release never came. Instead, I felt this numb crash, a kind of anxiety afterburn as the adrenaline I no longer needed soured and solidified into a thick glob of dread about the next boss. When I finally defeated Father Gascoigne, there was no outpouring of joy, only a void waiting to be filled by whatever horror was around the next corner. And so I drifted into Old Yharnam, pulled onwards by the last dregs of motivation, bruised and somehow alive, thinking to myself, flippin' heck, I've only beaten 2 bosses, and already the game is this hard. What on earth has it got in store for me next? It was then that I met Machine Gun Man. I bet you didn't even remember who Machine Gun Man was before watching this video, such is the nonchalance with which you probably cut through him. So let me remind you, Machine Gun Man lives here, and he fires an angry stream of bullets your way the moment you step beyond this point. I don't know what it was about this. Maybe the relentless oppressive frequency of his gunfire chugging into gothic masonry inches from my head. Maybe the ominous thought that this guy was merely an aperitif for whatever nightmarish main course lay in wait afterwards. Whatever the reason, Machine Gun Man was the steel-capped boot to the stomach of my faltering progress. And the guy never even killed me, he just loomed in my mind like an evil sponge, absorbing all my doubts and fears and then expanding in size to the point where I just could not see beyond him. Unbeknownst to me at the time, this would be the end of my Bloodborne adventure. It wasn't even a conscious decision to stop, I just didn't boot the game up for a couple of days. Then a couple of weeks. And before I knew it, months had gone by, and there I was, like Russell Crowe in that meme from Les Mis, staring out the window at everyone else, happily completing Bloodborne and nattering away about how brilliant it was and how they were on New Game plus and going for the Platinum Trophy, and all the review scores proclaiming how it was one of the best games ever made, absolutely essential and a masterpiece. It was one of my biggest ever gaming regrets. I felt ashamed. I knew how amazing Bloodborne was, and I just couldn't touch it. I even refused the offer of help, poo-pooing the suggestion of a co-op adventure with my friends on the basis of an opinion I stubbornly held for years, that playing the game with others was essentially cheating.
But the game has an option to let you summon friends. Like, if it's woven into the mechanics of the game, it's not cheating, is it?
It is cheating.
It's not cheating! How would it be cheating? The developers specifically designed areas so that you...
Even though deep down I knew they were right, I just didn't want to hear it. It was like a spiteful part of my brain had become addicted to the misery of the situation, a kind of viscous brain fug malevolently blotting out any spark of optimism, chaining me both to that cobbled square in old Yharnam and the fetid gutters of my own self-pity. I convinced myself I'd stumbled upon some unique form of failure from which there was no return, like I wasn't allowed to enjoy this game everyone else so rightfully celebrated. In addition, this spiteful part of my brain, let's call it Clive,
Yes.
decided that to ask for help would be to sink even further into this mire of defeat, as if I'd be chucking weakness on top of the ever-growing pile of negative mind baggage. And so began my long Bloodborne winter. Other games came and went, huge, beautiful, epic, spectacular games, a generation of wonder and discovery. But underneath all of these, always Clive would drive that splinter of guilt deeper and deeper until it festered into a rot of unhelpful thoughts. I still hadn't played Bloodborne, a game that by that point, as we sailed into PS4's twilight years, was heralded as one of, if not the greatest game of the generation. I was a failure, a fool, and a fraud. Then, in January 2021, nearly 6 years after abandoning Roberus the Hunter to a solitary life of walking over bridges and warming himself by the light of burning monsters, something changed. I don't really know what, how that first mote of light found its way inside the cage I'd erected around this game. Either way, when Nathan Rosie suggested a stream where they would join my game and help me finally get past Machine Gun Man and out of old Yharnam, that rusty gate of stubbornness within my mind finally snapped open. Let's play some Bloodborne. The first stream was a doozy. I felt light and free, flailing about like the raging noob I absolutely was, and for the most part still am, but with the liberating abandon of someone who's been finally let outside after being locked in a basement for ages. I threw both pebbles and emotes with equal recklessness, flitting about the edges of every battle like an unruly toddler, while Nathan Rosie, my Bloodborne mum and dad, took care of pretty much everything. Within minutes, Machine Gun Man was no more, that looming symbol of my own failure, hacked to bits by a zealous Rosie before I could even climb the ladder to see what was going on. My friends had helped me, and it felt good. It felt like a really good stretch after a long sleep, luxurious and oh so satisfying. I slowly began to remember things, the rhythmic flow of combat, how Bloodborne lets you slip around enemies and slice away their life while simultaneously healing any recent hurts they've inflicted upon you. The base satisfaction that comes from the simple act of extending your weapon. Even the sensual pleasure of listening to the clip-clop of our hunters' boots on Yharnam's blood-slicked pavements.
I felt like Theoden in the Two Towers, basically, when he's finally free of Saruman's poison.
Everything was new and fresh, despite the fact I was playing through a 6-year-old game dripping in gore and cosmic horror. It was springtime in my Bloodborne. The blood echoes were flowing, the bosses were falling, the trophies were popping, and life was good. As the series of noob streams continued, I could feel myself becoming less tentative, a little less reliant on my Bloodborne parents to do absolutely everything for me. I mean, yes, I still sucked, and yes, the game was still hard as nails. See the One Reborn stamping me out like a guttering flame on a broken matchstick.
Come on then, out!
But I was getting better at the game in one very important way.
As soon as the One Reborn killed me, all I could think was, let's get back in there.
I was learning how the toughest adversary Bloodborne throws at you is not Dark Beast Parl, or the Blood-Starved Beast, or Martyr Logarius. It's your own mind.
I think it might actually be Abrita's Daughter of the Cosmos, but that doesn't quite fit with the narrative that I'm going for here, so anyway.
And I soon realised I'd been locked in a 6-year-long battle against the most heinous of all Bloodborne bosses. A triple act that makes Shadow of Yharnam seem like a trio of newborn kittens. A triumvirate of enemies that in the end, despite my earlier reservations, only playing the game with my friends in co-op could help me overcome. Namely, fear, anxiety, and self-doubt. The One Reborn had killed me. But so what? So what if he kills me another 12 times? I mean, that's not going to happen. I've got Rosie with me and she's level God knows how much. It doesn't stand a chance. But the point still stands. I wasn't afraid of dying anymore. I no longer doubted that eventually I would topple the thing. And knocking those two mind villains on their head, fear and doubt, made smacking anxiety in the face all the easier, because without its two leering cronies, anxiety really doesn't have a leg to stand on.
All of the snarling, drooling, gothic nasties, all of those bosses that had previously sent me into a spiral of despair, they're just fronts, basically. They're facades. The real challenge in Bloodborne is conquering this.
Then, of course, you beat Rom the Vacuous, essentially a hairy, bulbous sinkhole that, once unplugged, unleashes the full extent of Bloodborne's Lovecraftian horrors, and you learn that all along, these gawping cosmic grotesqueries, like 50-foot alien spiders, have been straddling Yharnam's spires, and that they're called amygdalas, and that's a name shared by the part of the human brain responsible for processing emotional responses like fear and anxiety. And I was like,
it was there all along. Bloodborne wants you to overcome yourself.
As Bloodborne shed its narrative skin to reveal the truth underneath, so too did my misconceptions about the game unravel and fall. You know, I'm still a noob. I'm not going to kid myself into thinking I know even a fraction of what there is to know about the ocean of lore surrounding this game. But I do know this. If you're playing Bloodborne and you're stuck and you feel trapped and like you can't do it and that you're a failure or you're not good enough, know that those thoughts are nothing more than big ugly alien spiders you can smash to bits with your friends. Yes, they're scary, and some of them might even shoot lasers and stuff, but ultimately, they've got nothing on you, because you can just wake up in the hunter's dream, can't you, and go again, better this time, stronger, and crucially, not alone, because it's okay to ask for help.
And it's not cheating. It's definitely not cheating.
And who knows, maybe one day, once you've leveled up a bunch, that thing that used to cause you sleepless nights, that big dark shape inside your mind, maybe it's not the impassable barrier you thought it was. Maybe you've had what it takes all along. Maybe you can do this. Give this video a like if you were annihilated by the One Reborn when you first fought it. Let us know in the comments how many New Game Pluses you're on, and subscribe if you'd like to see more videos like this one. Thanks for watching, we'll catch you again soon.
PlayStation